How many people were on the commission at that
Four.
time?
There were two
four of you?
Democrats, two Republicans.
Do you remember some of the other members
Yes.
and their reaction?
Vin Erickson was there when I was, well, Charlie Hewitt was the chairman at the time, and he was, of course, was an ardent Democrat. And so he was a little suspicious, but before it was over, Charlie and I got along just fine. And when I was first appointed, Tom Shaver, who'd worked for the Free Press and followed me in politics and was the director of the PR for the Highway Department, came to me, oh, Peter, now we don't want to have anything politics. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. I know you're a big partisan. I said, well, I'll make you a deal, Tom. I'll make you a deal. You watch me for the next year. You come back in a year from now and tell me if I've been inappropriate by politics. Okay. He never came back to me because I knew that politics had nothing to do with whether or not you were going to have a great department.
Right.
And we were there to serve the people and the public interest and to make certain that every dollar we collected from the taxpayers was spent prudently. And I found all kinds of ways to save money and focus it directly on solving problems of transportation.
How long were you on the commission?
6 years.
6 years altogether.
By the day I was appointed, I handed the governor my signed, undated resignation. Governor, if you find anyone in this philosophic commonwealth you would rather have fulfill this odious task, please make me the happiest person around and just put the date on it and I'm gone.
End my misery.
Right.
All right, but actually I think you secretly got something out of it.
I was, well, but it was, I don't know, every 2 weeks to have to trudge off to Lansing. And,
Is that how often they met? Twice a month?
Yes, but guess what? When I became chairman, we cut it to once a month, and the meetings were 2 hours. I mean, there's none of this falderall. Boom, 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 boom. Come on, folks. Give us the information. We make the decision. Get it to us in advance so we can think it over. And there were more efficient ways of doing virtually everything in state government. You know, all that bureaucracy about to drive you nuts. The two worst things about state government was civil service because it protected the incompetent, the indifferent, and the indolent. I couldn't fire anybody.
Right.
And I mean, we caught a guy stealing money from us at the Blue Water Bridge. Oh, no, we had to put him on some sort of leave. The only one we could finally fire was a guy that was caught sneaking around the women's restrooms, harassing women. Now, that one we could finally get rid of, but it was a tough challenge.
Well, was it you or the commission that could fire or not these people, or was it John Woodford?
Well, Woodford was, of course, the day-to-day administrator, so he had the ultimate responsibility.
Right.
But the final policy decisions were made by the commission.
Wasn't there a famous map that came out while you were on the commission?
Well, I was accused by Keith Bolin, who was then the director of the Department of Labor, I think it was, an ardent U of M guy.
Right.
He said, Fletcher, you're not being faithful to the University of Michigan because you're allowing them to repaint the Mackinac Bridge under your ken and purview green and white, the colors of the arch enemy in East Lansing. Well, I had no control over that because the Federal Highway Administration determined that green and white were the safety colors. They used them all over the country.
Right.
I said, well, I'll do something that proves I'm as faithful to the maize and blues as anyone else. We were getting ready to put out the new state highway map. So I called in Tom Shaver, who was in charge of the map project. I said, Tom, here's what we're going to do. In the Ohio section of the map, for which we have no legal liability, we're going to put two new towns. One of them is going to say Go Blue, G-O-B-L-U. The other one is going to say Beat O-S-U, B-E-A-T-O-S-U. But we're telling nobody.
It was like kind of rural Toledo.
Yeah, right. Just south of the border, in that cultural wasteland called O-H-I-O, four-letter word. And so we told nobody. Introduced the new map, and we all felt fine. It was the year RenCen opened in downtown Detroit, so that's where we introduced the map. And at the conclusion of the press conference, I said, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there's something on the new map which is not on the old map. That's all I said. Well, some smarty went home that night, put the two maps up to a bright light, and found my errant towns. William, I'm here to tell you that my life has not been the same. What I thought would be a modest amusement of about a 20-minute duration has taken on a life of its own. To this day, 30 years later, not a month goes by, but doesn't come about that silly map caper. Unbelievable.
It was a great incident. I mean, it was front page news all over the state.
When I went on the MSU board, they wanted to know what I was going to do with the MSU campus map. I said, nothing. I mean,
how long was it just that 1 year?
Yes, because the minute I left the commission, the cartographer jerked it off because it felt so violated. It wasn't accurate. It was not an accurate thing.
You didn't really get in trouble over that, did you?
No, but the governor got about 6 letters of complaint from people.
Only 6?
About 6 letters. He said, Peter, what should I do to answer this? I said, well, here's a suggested answer, Governor. Why don't you answer them and say, Mr. Fletcher serves without any compensation. He's entitled to $60,000 a year from the public treasury. He pays all of his own expenses, even though he's entitled to complete reimbursement. And therefore, in exchange for that, he spent about $6 in extra ink on that map. And therefore, I believe that the people have come out ahead financially. Guess what? No more complaints.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. 6 years pass, the commission term to which you were appointed ends.
Yep.
And what?
Well, no, it didn't end. I'd been reappointed once, so I still had another couple of years to go.
Okay.
But I said, Governor, we've now gotten you
point,
reelected, and I want out. I need my peace and quiet and
you wanted freedom.
and a respite. Yes.
Freedom at last.
Yes, please.
And he said,
please,
okay, but then did he
Very
immediately demand that you take something else?
No. Here's what happened.
You a hiatus?
No. Here's what happened. I handed in a resignation. As soon as we were elected election night, I handed in my resignation. The governor, you've got to give me my freedom. Oh, please. No. I said. So reluctantly, he accepted my resignation. Okay, 2 years go by. One day, out of the clear blue sky, they'd had a resignation. They'd forced a person off of the MSU Board of Trustees because there'd been all kinds of scandals. He was cheating and everything. It was bad. He was in jail for non-support, the whole thing. Okay, so here's this vacancy. There hadn't been a vacancy on the board at MSU in years. And the MSU board is an elected board. So the governor very seldom would make an appointment anyway. There hadn't been an appointment in modern history. Well, as soon as this guy resigned, 200 people immediately applied. Oh, begging, pleading, whining. All these bleed green types.
Sure.
Well, all of a sudden, they're sitting around the office one day, according to Joyce Braithwaite, who was the appointments person.
Right.
And suddenly the governor says, wait a minute, I knew who I'm going to appoint. She thought he was going to name one of these 5 or 6 names they were down to. I'm going to appoint Peter Fletcher. Peter Fletcher? He doesn't even want it. He's never even been on the campus. I'm appointing Peter Fletcher. I'm going to prove to the people of Michigan that you get a better quality by appointment than you do by election. And Fletcher will be so... he'll be absolutely, he won't take anything from them. And
he was convinced that you would be dispassionate, objective.
Right, exactly.
And you would do the same kind of job you did on the Highway Commission.
Exactly.
But did he realize there might be a big backlash?
Oh boy, was there a backlash. Because when he called me, he said, well, Peter, I'm going to appoint you the trustee of Michigan State University. I said, Governor, you realize you're talking to Peter Fletcher in Ypsilanti? Yes. And this is the governor of the state of Michigan? Yes. I said, Governor, do you realize how controversial this will be? He said, I found that some of my most controversial appointments are some of my most successful. But Governor, I don't wish to be a trustee of Michigan State University. Peter, I have done things for you I didn't wish to do. Now it's your turn to do this for me. So there I was, stuck.
Well, you were
and when
stuck.
he announced it, for 3 days, absolute hell broke loose.
Well, you are kind of downplaying the fact that you're a famous maize and blue guy.
I agreed, but the third day, guess who called me?
Who?
John, the president, long-time president.
John Hanna?
John Hanna called me.
John Hanna.
And he said, Mr. Fletcher, if Governor Milliken thinks you will be a good trustee of Michigan State, that's good enough for me. With that, the thing all quieted down. I showed up at the first meeting,
was it, huh?
wearing my green and white tie and everything.
Wow.
And on my car, I arranged with this, I got a personalized plate.
Right.
On my car was my M Go Blue sticker on the window, and the license plate said MSUTOO. So I had a dual allegiance.
That is very good. Now,
and after I left, 4.5 years later, I often said a wide body of opinion held I was the finest trustee they ever had. Of course, it was my wide body, but so what?
how long were you on the board?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. You never actually ran, did you?
No.
You just
I left
served
them.
out
I left. Right. I served out the term.
balance of the term.
Right, the balance of the term, and I left them in sort of a question. And I said, well, I will respond to the wishes of the people of the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And guess what? Not one person asked me to seek re-election, including myself. So I understood that I was the visiting leper.
John Hanna, he was emeritus president
Yes, but still the patron
Was
saint.
Wharton the president? Who was the president?
No, they were just in the process of changing. Well, they were just in the process of changing presidents.
Yeah.
And they hired...
Wharton had just left?
Yes, and they hired John DiBiagio.
Okay.
And John DiBiagio came... No, it was Cecil Mackey.
Harden?
Cecil Mackey. No,
Cecil Mackey was there. Okay.
Cecil Mackey was there, and Cecil was having a tough time. Cecil had all of the qualifications for being an excellent university president except one. He had no political instincts. It was very sad, because Cecil was an excellent president otherwise. And I tried my best to protect him from some of his political blunders, but boy, oh boy, it was tough. It was very tough.
He's still there. Today.
Yes, he's an emeritus professor.
He's an emeritus professor. His wife's still very active in the community.
I agree. Fine people, but oh boy, it was one of those sad circumstances of where he'd worked for Estes Kefauver and everything. I mean, and Estes Kefauver was a great politician, but for some reason Cecil just never quite got
Maybe it was cultural.
Who knows?
He was from Alabama.
Yeah, but who knows? It was very sad.